Well, I am honored to be here with Jeanne Quinn, who is professor and chair of art and art history at the University of Colorado at Boulder. And importantly for us, she is also the creator of the fabulous model of the Temple of Aphaia that is part of our exhibition. Jeanne is an Oberlin alum, class of '88, I believe. And so I wanted to talk with Professor Quinn today about the model, about the process of making the model, about Greek art and architecture, and about maybe the technology both behind the model itself as well as behind Greek temple construction, because I know as part of your honors thesis, you also did a paper, a book called Temple, which is really about Greek temple construction. Do you want to talk a little bit about that first, Jeanne? Welcome. Thank you for being here.
Well, thank you so much for having me. Just even as you're talking, I was thinking this project was really such an interesting bridge for me between being an art history major, which I absolutely loved. And I had decided in 7th grade that I was going to be an art history major and, worked to make that come true. And then, but I had always been a real maker as well. And now yes, I am chair of the Department of Art and Art History, but I am actually on the art practices side. I am a ceramicist by profession. And so, but this temple project was really sort of the bridge between those two worlds of being a historian and being a maker. And it was an incredibly satisfying project on that end.
You worked with Professor Kane, Susan Kane,
Susan Kane.
And can you tell me a little bit about how working with Professor Kane kind of helped you to envision this project and to think about doing this?
Yeah, so I had taken her, she had kind of like an introduction to classical architecture that was about Greek and Roman architecture. And I had taken that class and I had always loved, I was very interested in architectural history generally, was really interested in how buildings affected how people move in the world and how that changes. I can't give you a specific example, but I remember becoming very aware of how, if you build a building a certain way, it brings people together. If you build a building a different way, it does something different to people's movements, and it really has a social effect.
Yeah.
And I became really interested in that. And it was clear that temples were so important in Greek civic life and community life. And it was kind of amazing to me that they would put so much money into something that didn't have a literal function the way that a marketplace did, or that a government, that kind of civic building would have. It was remarkable to me living in the time in which we live,
Sure.
Where everything is so much about commerce, that they, that in this other society, in this other time, that the most important thing would be this building that arguably, like in our world, sort of has no function, but for them, obviously it was very functional. It was very important. And it was a place where they would go and spend time. So I was like, this is an interesting mystery to me to kind of delve into and figure out. So she kind of got me curious about Greek temples and classical architecture. And then I think it was I want to say it was my sophomore year. She brought in a visiting faculty member. I do not remember his name. I'm pretty sure he was from Yale, somebody who taught architectural history. And he taught a 1-credit class that ran for a couple of weeks. It was just like a little micro class. Yeah, a little module. And he brought with him wooden models that showed specifically how arches worked, that showed how Roman arches worked, that you could put together. And, you had to kind of like put your hands on to simulate the pressure of a stone wall on the arch. And that was what would stabilize the arch.
Right.
And I'm seeing if it's gonna bubble up. He had a book. I think it was called Why Buildings Don't Fall Down. It was either Why Buildings
Okay,
Stand Up or Why Buildings Don't Fall Down. We could look up his name.
sure.
It was something along those lines. And I was fascinated by these wooden models, and I felt like they helped me get it in a bodily way, like how this engineering kind of worked. And then he also talked about post and lintel construction. And so essentially why so many Roman buildings and aqueducts and so on and so forth are still standing, whereas Greek buildings are not, because the Romans used the arch, which made sense with the material of stone, whereas post and lintel construction does not make sense with stone because, because as soon as you have, like, stone is not good in tensile strength. So as soon as you have a crack, it goes like this, whereas an arch, is incredibly stable. So I felt like he gave me that understanding, and I was like, wow, okay, I want to have that understanding, and I want to share that understanding with other people of Greek temples and how they work. So that was really the inspiration, along with reading the David Macaulay books as a kid, which I sort of based my written thesis on, of, the books like Pyramid and Cathedral and so on, of really understanding how they were built. So those were an inspiration, and then just really wanting to see something that wasn't slides and wasn't ruined.